Thank you for watching us on YouTube. But did you know that if you're on the go, you can get the full show as a podcast now? You can get our morning breakdown of the most important topics facing our country, news not being covered by the mainstream media, interviews with change-making progressives, and info on what you can actually do about all this. Search for The Damage Report on your favorite podcast app and subscribe so you know when new episodes are ready to go. Let's turn now to, again, Kavanaugh. Not directly Kavanaugh, but as bad as Kavanaugh's been, as bad as Grassley and Lindsey Graham and their defense of him has been, and Donald Trump obviously has been horrible, others on the right in media have taken this as their opportunity to proclaim to the world, no, I'm just as bad. Yeah. Give me Patreon dollars and follow me on Twitter. And one of those is Ben Shapiro, who is now being brought onto Fox News regularly because he's sort of young, like he looks kind of young. He acts like the oldest man I've ever seen in my life, but he's younger than most of the people they have on that show. So he gets brought on to represent young right-wing thought. Right. And he had this to say about what he has learned from the experience of Kavanaugh and Christine Blasey Ford.
Well, I mean, it's kind of shocking to suggest that due process shouldn't apply to men. I mean, that is the essence of sexism. The idea that certain rules should not apply to people on the basis of their genetics is that's obviously discrimination of the highest order. But this is the world in which we now live, in which white men are presumed guilty because they are white men, because they're supposedly in a position of privilege. I wasn't aware that Brett Kavanaugh forfeited his presumption of innocence or due process of law simply because of the color of his skin or the nature of his genetics.
So here's the thing that bothers me. It would be one thing if right-wing men like this were just continually whining constantly about how hard it is to be a straight white male. That would be sort of laughable. Yeah. But it's that at the same time, they attack progressive men for daring to speak up for women and equality between genders, to speak up for all these other groups. They see that as not masculine. Instead, what masculinity is constantly complaining that people aren't being fair enough to you, and how hard it is to be straight, and how hard it is to be white, and how hard it is to be a male.
And how everyone else is a victim. That's their.
Well, everyone in that carefully selected group is a victim.
Well, what
they
I'm saying
speak for no one but themselves.
They do that. Well, they complain about all these things, and then they say that, and also liberals are constant victims and need safe spaces, and they're snowflakes, and they can't handle the changing world, which is changing too fast for us. They do that a lot. And Ben Shapiro, by the way, is like, he's like the oldest young person ever. But
that's why they like him on Fox News. They want someone who thinks like a conservative who was born in 1950, but hasn't yet aged out of that demographic.
Well, his whole thing is that he is the perfect grandson for the racist grandpa. He is like parroting, and I say this from my own perspective, where my family also loves Ben Shapiro because he is that he just echoes these ideas that come from 80-year-olds who are really scared about the world. I genuinely don't believe Ben Shapiro and a lot of these right-wing personalities who definitely know better and didn't grow up in this insane racist world that like Ben Shapiro's our age. He grew up watching progress in a way that affects us in a positive way, but he found a way to make money by just saying the opposite to people who desperately need to believe that they're on the right side.
Yeah, and here's the thing, another thing, it would be one thing if Ben Shapiro went there and just spouted off these talking points and advanced this narrative or whatever, but it's that certain people are able to still have this aura of that this is the thinker on the right. This is the intellectual. This is a person who has logic. Facts don't care about your feelings or whatever. Okay, well, he's stating there that it's very difficult to be a white man. It's not fair. Did he present evidence? I mean, does he say, here are all of the ways that it's really hard to be? He doesn't have to do that because he goes on Fox News so that he can just make these proclamations and he knows that everyone watching it is going to agree with him. Yeah, and they say they love debate, but man, they sure love to be surrounded by people that agree implicitly with every single thing that they've ever said or ever believed. And again, the reason, I don't even like to put people like this on the show, but it's important too because they have a following. But again, the reputation of logic, intellectual, deep thinker. This is not just one of those crazy racists or whatever. He says they're supposedly in a position of privilege. If you at this point, and again, he's one of the young ones, still can't understand the concept of white privilege and deny it on its face, I don't care about any other thing that you say. You are obviously either too disingenuous to be trusted or too stupid to be trusted with complex arguments. It is the easiest thing in the world to imagine But it's like with the NFL protests. It's you tell them what it's about, and they say, no, I don't have a response to that. Here is what I say it's about, which I consider to be a thing that's easier to attack. And their idea of what white privilege supposedly represents is a great example of that. They say, well, I was never handed $1 million. Ben Shapiro wouldn't make that claim because, of course, the Koch brothers and other billionaires on the right wings have given him a ton of money. But others might say that, and that is frustrating.
Well, it's also part of their whole tactic is they throw out all of the, I mean, there's literally an name for it, I think it's called Gish Gallop, where you throw out 1,000 ideas that are all pretty wrong, but that take time to refute. So when somebody says, well, I oppose the NFL protest because it's against the troops, now you have to explain that no, it's not, and here's how it's not, and the time it takes to refute that is, it puts you at a disadvantage, and that's their whole game plan. Is they don't have to say anything substantive. They just have to say something that's difficult to refute quickly.
Yeah,
and that's all he does.
And that's another reason that debate has become so worthless in the modern era, because of tactics like that. Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.